I stared at the hospital bill in my hands, the numbers blurring through my tears. $175,000 for emergency surgery. Another $85,000 for ongoing treatment. The tumor they'd found was operable, but time was running out. I had 3 months, maybe 4, to find the money. "Don't worry," my mother had said when the diagnosis first came. "We have your medical fund. We've been saving since you were born. Everything will be fine." That was before Olivia's dream wedding took priority. Before my life became worth less than my sister's perfect day. I sat in my small apartment, surrounded by medical documents and payment notices, when my phone buzzed with a text from my mother. "Family dinner tonight. Important announcement. Be there by 7. Important announcement. I already knew what it was. Olivia had been hinting about it for weeks. Her fairy tale wedding at the Plaza Hotel, the designer dress from Paris, the 1,000-person guest list. My sister never did anything small. At exactly 7 p.m., I pulled up to my parents' suburban mansion in my used Honda Civic. Olivia's new Mercedes gleamed in the driveway, a gift from her fiancé Michael, the investment banker who'd proposed with a ring that cost more than my annual salary. "Sarah." Olivia squealed the moment I walked in, waving her left hand so the massive diamond caught the light. "Isn't it gorgeous?" Michael picked it himself. I forced a smile, trying to ignore the dull ache in my side where the tumor pressed against my ribs. "Beautiful. Congratulations again." My mother appeared from the kitchen, perfect as always in her designer outfit. "Sarah, you look pale. Are you eating properly?" "I'm fine," I lied. The truth was, I'd been skipping meals to save money for medical bills. "Just tired from work." "Still at that little accounting firm?" Olivia wrinkled her nose. "You should let Michael recommend you for a position at his bank. The starting salary is amazing." I didn't bother explaining that I couldn't take a new job now. Not with cancer treatments looming. Not with surgery scheduled in 3 months. Surgery I still couldn't pay for. My father joined us, carrying a bottle of expensive champagne. "Everyone to the dining room. We have big news to celebrate." The dining room table was set with the fine china, crystal glasses sparkling under the chandelier light. As we sat down, I noticed an unusual thickness to the air, a tension beneath the celebration. "Before we begin," my father announced, popping the champagne cork, "Olivia has something to share." Olivia stood up, practically bouncing with excitement. "Michael and I set a date. We're getting married in 6 weeks." 6 weeks. I blinked. "That's soon." "The plaza had a cancellation," she explained rapidly. "It's perfect timing. Everything's already planned, the flowers, the band, the catering. It's going to be the wedding of the year." My mother beamed. "We've already put down the deposits. The whole thing is going to be absolutely magnificent." Something cold settled in my stomach. Deposits. The Plaza Hotel. Magnificent. All words that suggested large sums of money that was supposed to be for my surgery. "Mom," I said quietly, "what about my medical fund?" The room went silent. My father suddenly became very interested in his wine glass. Olivia's smile flickered slightly. "About that," my mother said, her voice cooling several degrees. "We had to make a decision." "A decision?" My hands began to shake under the table. "The wedding venue alone costs $200,000, she continued. "Then there's the catering, the flowers, the dress from Paris. These opportunities don't come along every day, Sarah. We had to act quickly." I felt like I couldn't breathe. You spent my medical fund on Olivia's wedding?" "Don't be so dramatic," Olivia cut in. "It's not like you can't get the money somewhere else. Take out a loan or something." "A loan?" I stared at her in disbelief. "For cancer treatment?" "Well," my mother said primly, "if you had focused more on your career like your sister, you'd have better insurance. Better options." My father finally spoke up. "Sarah, you have to understand. This wedding, it's a once-in-a-lifetime event. Olivia deserves her perfect day. And I deserve to live," I whispered. The silence that followed was deafening. My mother sipped her wine, avoiding my eyes. My father studied the tablecloth. Only Olivia seemed unaffected, scrolling through wedding photos on her phone. "I can't believe this," I said, my voice shaking. "You're choosing her wedding over my life?" "Don't be melodramatic," my mother snapped. There are payment plans for medical procedures. But the plaza? That opportunity won't come again. Olivia has dreamed of this since she was a little girl. I stood up so quickly my chair scraped against the hardwood floor. I've dreamed of living past 30. Does that count for anything? Sarah, my father warned, don't ruin your sister's moment. Ruin her moment. As if my terminal illness was an inconvenience to their perfect family narrative. How much? I asked quietly. What? How much of my medical fund did you spend on her wedding? My mother lifted her chin. All of it. $260,000. The room spun slightly. That money, my money, could have covered the surgery and most of the treatment. Now it would pay for flowers that would die in a day and food that would be forgotten by morning. I need that money to live, I said, my voice barely a whisper. And I need my dream wedding. Olivia shot back. Stop being so selfish, Sarah. This is my special day. I looked at each of them, my father, avoiding conflict as always, my mother, cold and certain in her decision, and Olivia, my beloved sister, who cared more about table settings than my survival. I see, I said quietly. I finally see. See what? My mother demanded. That I never really mattered to any of you. I picked up my purse, my movements calm despite the storm raging inside me. I was just the other daughter. The spare. The one whose life is worth less than a party. Now you're just being ridiculous, my mother said. Sit down and have some champagne. We're celebrating. I walked to the door, then turned back one last time. You know what the funny thing is? I actually believed you when you said family comes first. I just didn't realize which family member that meant. Sarah, my father called after me. Don't be like this. But I was already walking out, my mind racing with possibilities. They thought I was helpless, the weak sister who would accept their decision with quiet resignation. They had no idea what I was capable of. No idea at all. As I drove away from their house, my phone buzzed with text messages. Mom, stop being dramatic and come back. Olivia, you're ruining everything as usual. Dad, we can discuss this later. Don't spoil your sister's announcement. I blocked their numbers. That night, I sat in my apartment, surrounded by medical bills and wedding announcements that had started arriving in the mail. The contrast was stark. My sister's joy and my death sentence, printed on paper in black and white. But as I stared at those papers, something clicked in my mind. My father's signature on the medical fund withdrawal. The house mortgage they'd refinanced to pay for the wedding. The business loans they'd taken out to maintain their perfect facade. I might be dying, but I still had my CPA license. I still had my skills. And most importantly, I had nothing left to lose. Opening my laptop, I began to research. Property records. Business filings. Loan documents. Every financial decision my parents had made in the last 20 years laid out in public records, waiting for someone who knew where to look. By midnight I had a plan. By dawn I had the beginnings of revenge. They thought taking my medical fund was the end of the story. They were wrong. It was just the beginning. Because while they were planning the perfect wedding, they forgot one crucial detail. Desperate people are dangerous. And I was very, very desperate. 2 weeks before Olivia's perfect wedding, I made my first move. It wasn't hard to find buyers for distressed debt companies that specialized in acquiring failing loans at a discount. All it took was a few phone calls, my CPA credentials, and detailed knowledge of my parents' financial situation. One by one, I bought every debt they owned. The house mortgage they'd refinanced for Olivia's wedding. The business loans my father had taken out to maintain their lifestyle. The credit card debt they'd racked up for appearances. All of it now mine. They had no idea, of course. Why would they? They were too busy with wedding preparations to notice that their loan servicers had changed, that their debts had been consolidated under a new company, Phoenix Financial Recovery, LLC. My company. The morning I received confirmation of the final debt purchase, I also got a call from my oncologist. The tumor is growing faster than expected, she said gently. We need to move up the surgery. I looked at my bank account, nearly empty after buying my parents' debt. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd spent what little savings I had left acquiring the very debts they'd accumulated while spending my medical fund. My phone buzzed with a text from Olivia. Final dress fitting today. Mom says you haven't RSVP'd yet. Stop being difficult. I deleted it without responding. 3 days before the wedding, I made my second move. Phoenix Financial Recovery sent out its first notices, demanding immediate payment in full on all outstanding debts. My father's business loans. My mother's credit cards. The house mortgage. The calls started within hours. Sarah. My father's voice was panicked. Something's wrong with our loans. They're demanding immediate payment. All of them. I sat in my small home office, surrounded by medical bills and loan documents. How much do they want? Everything. $1.2 million by the end of the week or they'll foreclose. This has to be a mistake. The wedding is in 3 days. Funny how quickly things can change, isn't it? I kept my voice neutral. One day you think everything's secure, the next it's all falling apart. There was a pause. Sarah, what did you do? Check the name of the company making the demands, Dad. Phoenix Financial Recovery. I chose it specially, like the phoenix rising from the ashes. Appropriate, don't you think? You bought our debt? His voice cracked. Why? Why? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Maybe because you spent my literal life savings on Olivia's wedding. Maybe because you chose flower arrangements over your daughter's survival. We can explain, Dash. No need, I cut him off. The terms are clear. Full payment by Friday or I start foreclosure proceedings. On everything. That's impossible. We don't have that kind of money. The wedding, Dash. The wedding. I felt a cold smile spread across my face. I guess Olivia will have to scale back her perfect day. Shame about those non-refundable deposits. He tried bargaining, then begging, then threatening. I hung up. My mother called next, then Olivia. I blocked their numbers. The day before the wedding, I walked into my oncologist's office with a cashier's check. I'd like to schedule that surgery now. She looked surprised. You have the funds? Yes, I smiled. A loan came through. That evening my father showed up at my apartment. He looked older than I'd ever seen him, his perfect suit wrinkled, his face haggard. Please, he said the moment I opened the door. We'll lose everything. Like I'm losing my life? I stepped aside, letting him in. How's the wedding planning going? He sank onto my couch, head in his hands. Olivia's hysterical. The plaza is threatening to cancel if we miss tomorrow's final payment. Your mother's had to return her new car. My business credit is ruined. Sounds stressful, I observed. Almost like having cancer and finding out your family spent your medical fund on centerpieces. We were wrong, he whispered. So terribly wrong. But please don't destroy our lives over this. I walked to my window, looking out at the city lights. You know what's funny, Dad? I'm not destroying anything. I'm just collecting on debts you chose to take on. Debts you acquired while spending my medical fund on Olivia's special day. What do you want? His voice was hollow. What will it take to fix this? I turned back to him. Fix it? You can't fix this. You can't fix choosing one daughter's party over another daughter's life. You can't fix showing me exactly how little I matter to this family. The medical fund, he said quickly. We'll get it back. Somehow. We'll find a way, Dash. I already found a way, I cut him off. The surgery is scheduled for next week. I'm paying for it with the money I'll make from selling your house. He stared at me, realization dawning. You're really going to do this? No, Dad. You did this. The moment you decided my life was worth less than Olivia's wedding, you did this to yourselves. The wedding was cancelled, of course. The plaza kept their deposit. The Paris dress was returned. Olivia's perfect day crumbled under the weight of financial reality. My mother called from a blocked number, leaving a voicemail that alternated between begging and threats. How could you do this to your sister? To your family? We raised you better than this. I listened to it while signing the paperwork to begin foreclosure proceedings on their house. 2 weeks later, I woke up in a hospital room, groggy from surgery. The tumor was gone. The margins were clean. I would live. My phone had messages from my family. Mom, we're living in a rented apartment now. Are you happy? Dad, my business is ruined. Was this what you wanted? Olivia, you destroyed everything. I'll never forgive you. I deleted them all. 6 months later, I sat in my oncologist's office getting the all clear. No sign of cancer. No evidence of recurrence. A full recovery. You're very lucky, she said, reviewing my scans. If we hadn't caught it when we did, if we hadn't operated when we did. Lucky. I thought about the house I now owned, my parents' former mansion, which I'd sold to a developer. The business loans I'd called in, forcing my father into bankruptcy. The credit card debt I'd used to destroy their perfect credit scores. My phone buzzed, an email from my mother, her first contact in months. I hope you're satisfied. You've taken everything we had. I typed a simple reply. No, Mom. I took back what was mine. My medical fund. My life. My chance to survive. The rest? That was just interest on a debt you chose to take on. They say revenge is a dish best served cold. But sometimes revenge is simply justice with interest added. Sometimes, it's showing people exactly what their choices cost, not just in dollars and cents, but in relationships destroyed and trust shattered beyond repair. My family chose Olivia's perfect wedding over my life. They never imagined their perfect daughter would end up in a rented apartment, their perfect life would crumble under the weight of debt, their perfect facade would shatter so completely. But then again, they never imagined I would survive to make them face the consequences of their choice. A month after my final checkup, I received an invitation to a small wedding. Olivia and Michael, getting married at City Hall. No Plaza Hotel, no Paris dress, no 1,000-person guest list. Just a simple ceremony and a reception at a local restaurant. I didn't attend. Instead, I sent a card with a simple message. Congratulations. Consider this your wedding gift. I'm writing off the remaining debt. Start your new life fresh. But never forget why you had to start over. They say money can't buy happiness. But it can buy life-saving surgery. Can buy justice. And sometimes, it can buy the perfect revenge, showing people exactly what they lose when they choose the wrong things to value. I survived. I thrived. And I made sure they never forgot the cost of choosing a perfect wedding over a daughter's life.